Looking at part 2 of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, White Power versus Non-White Powerlessness. So you already know the vibe. Salute to everybody. Make sure you drop your like for this great queen on your screen. This great queen on your screen dropping knowledge. It's not just about us following everybody in their knowledge, but guess what? Certain people's knowledge can tap your mind and open your view and give you a broader perspective, a broader paradigm on not only life, on society, on views. When Dr. Cress Welsing starts to speak, she starts to talk about a lot of different things and the symbolisms in things like the bullfighting and stuff like that, and how it came from Spain and how it symbolized when they chased the Moors, the northern, back to Africa. You know, so the bull and the killing of the black bull, and the bull being the symbolic and the symbolism of the black man. And even in some cultures, how some things, how they eat the bull, the balls, the testicles of the bull as well. So there's many things that's going on with topics like this. But, you know, I do want Dr. Francis Cress Welsing to speak her own mind. But remember, do the knowledge, do your research, check out everybody that we do direct on the screen. And when you hear great leaders and great queens and kings speak about other people that they look at and they deem as great minds, make sure you're researching those minds as well, because you might uncover some more history that you may need. So listen, let's get right back into part 2 of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, White Power versus White Powerlessness.
He multiplied by 5 if he could support himself and 5 wives. Do you understand? But under the conditions of war, if the war is attacking the people in general and the men in particular, then the answer is, when the men are disappearing, intensify the war against the enemy. Do you see? And then when the war is over, we can see how many men and women link up together. But this is war. This is war. When this war attacks in this way, the black male many times will leave out of pain and frustration. The black female, in her pain and frustration, is in the house with the children. If she didn't understand white supremacy and was taught about Dick and Jane and Spot and Puff and everybody is equal, you see, then she's very upset, because things haven't worked out the way that she thought at the time that they got married. She's very upset, and this frustration and anger is going to hit the male child. And she'll say, there you go, acting like that no good father, right? She's not a bad person. The father's not a bad person. They are victims of white supremacy without understanding in depth what is happening. So this attack on the black male child, and then he goes to school and the teacher attacks him there. She's frustrated at home, mother's frustrated. So the little male child starts thinking, this is a no-win position. Mother, will you please put some fingernail polish on my nails? Put some curlers in my hair. Let me wear those earrings. And white supremacy is standing on the sidelines cheering. Do you see? Because if that is intensified, then the situation will move from passivity to effeminization to bisexuality and homosexuality. And so we now have epidemic levels of bisexuality and homosexuality, not because people are nasty, not because people are bad. White supremacy says this is a war. The ultimate outcome that I'm looking for is genocide. If I produce bisexuality and homosexuality, I will eventually get genocide. That's exactly what I want, because that will allow for genetic survival. Or we can go another route. Mothers at home with the children, black male child, black female child, mother's unhappy and depressed, the children are unhappy and depressed, the little boy, somebody says to him, here, have this will make you feel good. And so white supremacy has put the drugs out here, knowing what is happening. So they put the drugs out here so then he can go to step 2. I don't have a job, but I can make money selling drugs. White supremacy said, this is my trap. I'm setting them up. Where I really want to is eventually get them in jail. If I have them in jail, then I'll run the South Africa game. In South Africa, the men are in the work camps, and the women are in the Bantu stands, and here the women are in the projects, and the men are in jail. They're not together, and so that also amounts to genocide. Do you understand? White supremacy is a gigantic, sophisticated system for white genetic survival. It is not a joke, it is war. We can win a war if we can decode the plays. White supremacy also said, if I leave the mother alone, she's overwhelmed, the children won't get sufficient emotional support, I can produce sex obsession. See how quiet it got? Even the breathing stopped. See, we're making this thing scientific. They're going to look up and we will have solved this problem. Okay? If you deprive children of adequate lap time, you saw the little baby that was up on the stage? That little baby is real cool. You lift it up in the air and it doesn't even make a whimper. That's because that baby has a whole lot of lap time. Parents stand up and take praise, okay? But if you don't give children, and it's not because parents are bad, it is because we are under the horrendous stress of war. And if children do not get their emotional needs met, then they're moving around and walking around as something is missing in the area of the solar plexus. And so here's one child and then somebody else next door has the same problem. Then they will meet under the porch and have sex, trying to get a sense of human closeness that the white supremacy dynamic deprives us of. For example, if we just go back, 6, 8 generations, we were smack into the slavery phase of white supremacy. The slavery phase of white supremacy was, black lady, you're going to take care of the white baby. Now put that black baby in a box out in the field somewhere. You are nursing the white baby. So nobody was getting their dependency needs met, and that was handed down. Beyond that, white supremacy said, Hattie, I want you to have another baby because I need some more slaves. So Hattie was breeding. That was the old-time white supremacy dynamic. The modern white supremacy dynamic is welfare. Hattie, I'll give you a little bit larger welfare check. Just make another baby. I know you cannot take care of them. I know you cannot meet their emotional needs. So whether we're in formal slavery or the modern welfare state, we are going to produce inferiorized people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you pile children one on top of the other, you're going to produce somebody that is vulnerable to drugs, alcohol. White supremacy understands this. You see, white supremacy does studies. The more children you have, the lower the IQ level of the individual child. They know that. But this is about what? White supremacy. And it really is about genocide to a certain extent, but you cannot be superior unless you have people around you who look inferior to you. So you don't get rid of all the people. You just get rid of enough so you don't have a problem, but you want to keep looking at them and say, look at that, look at them. Yeah, look, see, I'm superior to that, look at them. Now this is the game that we, have to outsmart. So, what do I propose? Because we are in a giant chess game. And I think that chess is a very excellent analogy to white supremacy. Why? Because in chess, the white side always moves first. So that means that they're playing offense, defense, and black has to play catch-up defense, offense, right? But that's okay. because you can win from the black side of the board if you understand the game. So, I propose Cress chess. That's like laying out the chessboard for an understanding of white supremacy. So you put white on this side and black on this side, and instead of having 8 rows, you try to put 9. So you have economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, I got more, politics, religion, sex, and war. And so this is under sex, if you will. So they make a move, I'm going to make you make inferiorized people, because I can always overwhelm inferiorized people. So on our side of the board, under sex, my recommendation is no black woman have a child before 30, no black man have a child before 35, no more than 2, no closer together than 3 years apart, as a strategy for making soldiers. See, he has some old parents. See, that's like you can tell little children who have been reared around their grandparents. There's a difference between somebody who is 14 and somebody who's 34. Make no mistake about it. They would prefer, and this is interesting, this is so interesting to me, after I started talking about this 30, 35, no more than 2, no closer together than 3 years apart. Now, you know how they have on TV, they bring up the black lady who has 15 children. Hattie, you're on welfare? And you got all these children that you can't take care of? You see what I'm saying? That's Donahue and Sally, Jesse Raphael, and all the rest of them, okay? So Cress Welsing comes along and says, black people, no more than 2, no closer together than 3 years apart. You would have thought that they would have put me in all the newspapers. What begins to come out in the newspapers? Recent study, we think it's all right for the black teenager to have children. That this is an all right solution. No. Do you see what I'm saying? The minute we begin to figure out some plays that'll work, they try to take us back to checkmate. I found that absolutely fascinating. There they were talking about no teenage pregnancy, and the minute we say, yeah, we're going to adopt that strategy to make soldiers, then they will put in the paper some study that says, oh, it's cool if the children have children. No, it is not cool. Okay, it is not cool because somebody who is a child cannot teach emotional maturity. You have to have emotional maturity to fight a war. So that's one strategy, okay? Let's go back to this chess game. Chess, to make a long story short, is about white king, checkmate black king. The reason that I say it is that if white always moves first, it's not sufficient to say that the game of chess is about checkmating the king. White is making the aggressive or the offensive attack. So the game has to be about what? White king checkmating black king, right? So this is the same thing as white genetic survival. The war for white genetic survival. Okay, on this side of the board, they say, well, we have produced people who didn't get enough lap time, and we have made them sex obsessed. So now, and then our Secretary of Agriculture, Mr. Butts, already announced, all black people want is tight pussy, loose shoes, and a warm place to piss. Is everybody familiar with the fact that he said that? Okay. So they knew that we were sex machines, and even James Brown said, get on up, sex machine, and we get up, right? Okay. So they know what they're doing. They said, well, now, right, this will be a perfect strategy. We will make a biological warfare weapon that is sexually transmitted. They are so sex obsessed that they'll be saying, I gotta have some, I don't care. I'm not using no condom. Do you all understand? See, they make us, and then they make the weapon to destroy what they've made. But then I found out, through a little book that I found in 1987, that was published in 1969. It was a book done by some people in Britain called A Survey of Chemical and Biological Warfare. And in that book, God led me to the little bookstore, led me to turn immediately upon opening the book to the page that discussed vervet monkey disease. Vervet is Latin for green. You know that green monkey they say was in Africa and started the whole thing? That was a lie. But the vervet monkey disease that this book talked about is described in this way: a disease unlike any other organism, unaffected by any antibiotic substances known, can become an infectious disease in man, can be transmitted venereally, that means sexually, candidate for biological warfare. Do you understand? The book was published in 1969. When I mentioned it to people in New York, go to the publisher, get as many copies as you can, I understand that they were told 1 copy per person, then people had to sign their names to get copies, and now you can't get the book. Do you understand? Warfare. Under the 8th area of activity, that's cocaine, crack, marijuana, ice, or whatever they're going to invent next. Do you see? Just like under sex and war, they're going to put out a new virus called Ebola, E-B-O-L-A. And we're supposed to believe, oh, this is another virus out of Africa. Oh, just imagine, another monkey is making this virus. Right. Don't you believe it? Every time another virus comes out, you say biological warfare. Just like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment that ran from 1932 to 1972. The Center for Disease Control in Atlanta and the U.S. Public Health Service, the 2 groups that are now running the AIDS virus campaign, gave black people, meaning allowed black men who were diagnosed as having syphilis, to believe that they were going to a clinic to be treated for syphilis, and they were not being treated, and so therefore they went home and passed syphilis on to their families. They died of it, as well as some members of their family. That went on for 40 years. You see, so if anybody comes, well, are you talking about a conspiracy, Dr. Welsing? See, I don't say it's a conspiracy, I just say it's a plan. It's an aspect of the plan for white genetic survival. You see, just like what happened to the Semites of the Jewish religion, a plan for white genetic survival. Why? Because in Europe, the Semites of the Jewish religion were considered to be not white people. They were considered, the word Semite comes from the Latin prefix semi, which means half. Half what? Half black and half white. This was a population of people made on the northern tier of Africa of the combination of Greek and Roman soldiers and black women in Africa. So 2,000 years ago, when the mulattoes over there were made, then some of them went up in Europe with the definition that a Jew is anybody whose mother is a Jew. So that meant that the woman could have sex with any white man, hoping that the children will be lighter and lighter. We know about that, right? There are people that plan, well, if I have sex with a white man, then the child will be light and the child will have a better chance. That's the same thing that they were doing. Trying to get blonde hair, blue-eyed people with more European-type features and straighter hair. But 2,000 years later, Adolf Hitler came along and said, wait a minute. You all are about to participate in causing us to have genetic annihilation. So we're going to kill you. We're going to kill 11 million of you. They succeeded in killing 6 million. I recommend for everybody, go to your video store and get a video of the Wannsee, W-A-N-N-S-E-E, Wannsee Conference. It's a German docudrama that describes the government sitting down and planning carefully how they were going to kill 11 million people. They succeeded in killing 6 because they were not considered to be white. Now, because somebody looks white to us does not mean that white people are thinking of them as white. I was just in New Orleans and talking to the people there because there was a lady in New Orleans, a black lady who was so light that she could pass for white. So she said, why should I be black? I'm going to go to the court and get my classification changed. And the court said, I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to stay black. Why? Because if you are carrying even little bits of African genetic material, over time, all those little bits will begin to add up, and the population will experience white genetic annihilation. Are you with me? So I say that we need to get very sophisticated and understand what that dynamic was all about, and not waste our time attacking other people that the system says are not white. Because very interestingly, white supremacy dropped the atomic bomb on the Japanese, right? Second World War, Japanese-speaking non-white people. They reached the 1980s and 90, and they have all kinds of anti-black literature and anti-Semite. The Semites of the Jewish religion lost 6 million. That was 1/3 of their total world population. They're busy yelling about Jesse Jackson and Farrakhan, having said nothing to the Nazis. Do you understand? So this is fear. The Japanese-speaking non-white people want to embrace white people and want to be accepted by white people, but white people drop the bomb on them. The Semites of the Jewish religion were killed by the white people with the cooperation of the European powers and the government over here. But they want to still embrace and be accepted. So they spend their time attacking non-white people, and the Japanese spend their time attacking non-white people and hoping that everybody will be classified as honorary whites. Do you follow me? Because everybody is afraid to look at the white side of the chessboard and even talk about white supremacy. Why? Because we are all afraid. Are you all with me? Yeah. We are not going to make any progress. I don't care what any of the people who are classified as non-white are doing. They are not the enemy. Now, this lesson needs to be taught in South Africa, all over Africa, all over this area of the world. What are we doing with our frustration and anger? Killing one another. White supremacy said, we're going to run a real fast game on them in South Africa. Now, they've been pleading to let Mr. Mandela out. So let's say now, what we're going to run on these people is we're going to smile at them. And we're going to let Mr. Mandela out. In the meantime, we are going to arm different groups of them. And since we have spent so much time teaching them to hate black and to love white, that once we put these weapons in their hands, then they will kill one another, and we'll just lay back and say, we can't give one man, one vote to that. Do you understand? Same here. White supremacy functions with a minority controlling a majority by dividing and conquering. If the non-white people on the planet did not fight each other, white supremacy would stop tomorrow. Do you follow what I'm saying? So these are very important lessons. Oh, I see. You all, it's after midnight. Very important lessons that non-white people have to master. We have to leave each other alone. That's like black men and women. Leave each other alone. See, because what we do, being afraid to face this side of the chessboard, we dump our frustration and anger on this square attacking this square, or this piece attack that piece. You see, and we have the illusion that we are into something and solving something. The only way that we're going to solve something is to direct our attention at white supremacy, even if we have to sit and look at it and say we're afraid. Well, you're afraid, so what are you going to do? Well, we don't know. We are not going to do anything because we're afraid right now. If we get over the fear, we're going to start looking in this direction. But this is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. Don't get on any TV programs arguing with other black people. See, because that's a game that they play. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you're going to come on and talk about racism. I know that I'll make you all fight, and then the white people just lay back in the cut and just look from side to side as we're hitting each other. Racism goes on discussed while we are battling it out with each other. So all of these little games, it's just like racism goes on, the black man and the black woman are fighting each other. The black male against the black male, the black female against the black female, squabbling and arguing. My sorority is better than yours. My fraternity is better than yours. My church is better than yours. My tribe is better than yours. My club, you all understand. My car is better than yours. It'll run faster. It costs more. You see, all these little things that we get all caught up in, as though it means something, so we don't have to look at white supremacy. And this is the fuel that keeps white supremacy moving. Because figure, fewer than 1/10 of the people on the planet, how can they hold down all of the people? No, they have to make armies of the non-white people who are willing to fight and kill and name call and focus on one another. And they can do that day in and day out and day out and day in. So I say that our responsibility for the 1990s and moving into the year 2000, that we have to understand white supremacy, what it is, but then we have to go to this level and begin to deal with the behaviors and the activity in the area of black self-hate, or non-white people self-hate all over the world. The people in India, you're light and I'm dark. You see, and so we're going to be in different castes, and my caste is better than your caste. We've got the same foolishness going on here. White supremacy set it up. That's why white supremacy will move amongst black people. The white male will have sexual intercourse or rape the black female and start making a whole lot of lighter colors. Then telling the lighter colors that you're closer to white, and so you're better. And so now you all squabble and fight. These are tricks of white supremacy. So South Africa says, well, we have a colored population. See, and if white supremacy gets real swift, they'll start lining up the people based on color and say, well, you actually, our anthropological studies tell us that you're not quite black. And so you can reclassify into group K1324. Do you see what I'm saying? They'll run that. you will have a better chance to get a job. Your job will not be taken by the Eastern Europeans who come over here. Do you all understand? Any little play, we have to say, oh no, we're not interested in that trick. We know what that trick is. We are not going to fall victim to these white supremacy plays. I don't know where to stop or to go. See, but what we are trying to do, what we are trying to do is move on up this pyramid and become pyramid builders, but we're right here in the middle, right? At this very critical layer. But if we decide if every individual black person, if every individual person of African descent, since we are the mothers and fathers of all of the people on the planet, we should be the ones who say, we'll lead the way. We're going to show all of the non-white world how to bring justice to the planet. And so we don't have to join any club, but we will start engaging in these exercises of not name-calling one another, not squabbling with one another, cursing one another, being discourteous and disrespectful, not fighting one another, not killing one another, not throwing down trash, not having children think they can be parents. We can lead the way so that all the other non-white people, well, we might as well follow our black parents. See, we might as well let them lead us to justice. And then this thing up here, this all-seeing eye, I believe that that is going to open up and begin to give us the power that we need to finish off the injustice and the evil of white supremacy. Now, I'm not talking about killing white people. That's not necessary. Because here on this planet, that tiny minority of people, fewer than 1/10 of the people on the planet, that they now have overwhelming power because the non-white people are neutralizing one another. But if the non-white people start focusing in on white supremacy, then they will surround it with their eyes, and it won't be able to move. Can you see that? If everybody is focusing and looking at white supremacy, it'll be just like a grandparent casting that eye on you, and you gotta shape your behavior up. Do you understand? They won't be able to make a devilish move. You see, but if you follow the media is saying, now, black ladies, you don't really need a black man. The in thing is a white man. Just like the media is saying to black men now, look, we've come a long way. This is in. Every black man can have a white female. You see, but then the counter racists and the people who are interested in establishing justice will come along and say no sexual intercourse with any person who classifies themselves as white. Until such time that white supremacy is eliminated on the entire planet. Now, if you think that that doesn't mean something, I gave a talk some time ago at Washington State University in Yakima, and it was a large white audience. And so Neely Fuller had put this in his book, the textbook for victims of white supremacy. He said, Francis, you can experiment. Just try. Just say that one time and watch what happens. So I suggested that. And two white gentlemen in the audience jumped up and, no, we can't have that. I said no sexual intercourse between black ladies and white men until white supremacy is eliminated on the planet. And they jumped up and were about to have a stroke. Ladies, that might be our most potent weapon.